The Christian cross had been used as a symbol of Christianity from late antiquity, beginning in the 11th century, and increasingly during the age of the Crusades. A variety of variant forms of cross symbols were developed for the purposes of the emerging system of heraldry. The cross symbol was also used on flags from the medieval period, and in modern times also on numerous national flags. History. Heraldry emerges in the 12th century out of earlier traditions. The Christian cross is one of the earliest and most widespread heraldic charges, dating back to the field signs used in the First Crusade, and used to distinguish the various noble crusaders from at least the Second Crusade. In 1188, Henry II of England and Philip II of France agreed to launch the Third Crusade together, and that Henry would use a white cross and Philip a red cross. The red-on-white cross came to be used by the Knights Templar, and the white-on-red one by the Knights Hospitaller. The Teutonic Order used a black-on-white version. The basic variants of the red-on-white and the white-on-red Crusaders' cross were continued independently in the flags of various polities in the 13th and 14th century, including Genoa, Trier, Constance and England on one hand, and Savoy, the war flag of the Holy Roman Empire, and Switzerland and Denmark on the other. A roll of arms of the 13th century lists the coats of arms of various noblemen distinguished by crosses of different tinctures. Le Comte de Norfolk, Doré un croix de gules. Piers de Savoy, gules un croix d'argent. Robert de Vere d'Argent à la Croix de Gules. Glover's roll, a 16th century copy of a roll of arms of the 1250s, has depictions of various heraldic crosses, including the Aura cross gules of the Earl of Norfolk, gules, a cross argent of Peter of Savoy, argent a cross gules of Robert de Vere, gules a cross fleury there of Guillaume de Forts, Comte de Ormel, gules a cross fleury, argent of Guillaume Versy, gules across Saltire and Grille of Fulk de Rocherdestone, argent across fleury azure of John Lexington, azure 3 crosses or of William de Saron, or across gules, 5 scallops argent of Ralph Bigod, gules across Forgy argent of Gilbert de Vale, argent across fleury sable of John Lamplow, or across Saltire gules, a chief gules of Robert de Bruce, gules across Saltire argent of Robert de Neville, or across voided gules of Hammond de Crevecoeur, and azure across or 4 lions rampant or of Bordeaux and Aigny. In addition, the Glover roll has semi of crosses crosslet as a tincture in several coats of arms. The desire to distinguish one's coat of arms from others led to a period of substantial innovation in producing variants of the basic Christian cross by the early 14th century. The great number of variants of crosses, and the deep history of such variants, results in confusing and often contradictory terminology. In the heraldry of the Holy Roman Empire, the cross is comparatively rare in the coats of arms of noble families, presumably because the plain heraldic cross was seen as an imperial symbol. But in the 14th century, the plain cross is used in the seals and flags of several prince-bishoprics, including Trier, Constance and Cologne. Looking back on the Crusades as the foundational period of knighthood, the badge of the cross became strongly associated with the idealized Christian knight of romance, as expressed by Spenser, and on his breast a bloody cross he bore, the dear remembrance of his dying lord, for whose sweet sake that glorious badge he wore, and dead, as living ever, his adored. Upon his shield the like was also scored. The black-on-white cross worn by the Teutonic Knights was granted by Innocent III in 1205. The coat of arms representing the Grand Master is shown, with a golden cross fleury across potent superimposed on the black cross, with the imperial eagle as a central inner scutcheon. The golden cross fleury overlaid on the black cross becomes widely used in the 15th century. A legendary account attributes its introduction to Louis IX of France, who on the 20th of August 1250 granted the Master of the Order this cross as a variation of the Jerusalem cross, with the fleur-de-lis symbol attached to each arm. While this legendary account cannot be traced back further than the early modern period, there is some evidence that the design does indeed date to the mid-13th century. The black cross patty was later used for military decoration and insignia by the Kingdom of Prussia and gave rise to the cross patty in the German Reichskriegs flag and the Iron Cross and Paul Emerit orders. The Nordic cross is an 18th century innovation derived from cross flags adapted as swallow-tailed pennons used as civil ensigns. The first official introduction of such a flag was in a regulation of the 11th of June 1748 describing the Danish civil ensign for merchant ships. The Danish design was adopted for the flags of Norway and Sweden, both derived from a common ensign used during the union between Sweden and Norway 1818 to 1844, Iceland and Finland. Variants of heraldic crosses. Classical heraldry. The following table lists only variants in the basic shape of the cross. Heraldic crosses may in addition vary in the flexion, embattled, indented, invected, wavy, ragally, dancety, dantily, and so on, or the tincture. A plain heraldic cross is a Greek cross with four arms of equal length which meet in the first point of the shield. Due to the pointed shape of the shield, however, the horizontal bar is generally shorter than the vertical if the cross arms are drawn as extending to the border of the field, resulting in a Latin cross. Modern innovations and special cases. Flags. Flags with crosses are recorded from the later Middle Ages, e.g., in the early 14th century the insignia Cruxate communes of the city of Genoa, the red-on-white cross that would later become known as St. George's Cross, and the white-on-red cross of the Reichsturmfahne used as the war flag of the Holy Roman Emperor possibly from the early 13th century. Crosses on flags become more widespread in the Age of Sail as maritime flags, and from this tradition develop into national flags in the 18th to 19th century. The British Union flag was introduced in 1606, after the Union of the Crowns. Several national flags are based on late medieval war flags, including the white-on-red crosses of the flag of Denmark and the flag of Switzerland. The elongated Nordic cross originates in the 18th century due to the rectangular shape of maritime flags. The Red Cross flag originates in 1906 as a color-switched version of the flag of Switzerland.